Let me say something that needs saying. I'm getting rather tired of the way India is portrayed in parts of the Western media. You'd think India was a country where women are constantly in danger, tourists are unsafe, and sexual offences against women are somehow an everyday feature of Indian life. But let's stop with the impressions and look at the numbers. India certainly has problems, of course it does. But India's latest National Crime Records Bureau figures show that in 2023 there were 29,617 reported cases of across population of more than 1.4 billion people. That works out to be about 4.4 reported cases per 100,000 women. Now compare that with Britain, and here we have to be careful because the statistics aren't collected in exactly the same way. The Office for National Statistics estimates that in England and Wales, 3% of women aged 16 and over experienced sexual assault in the year ending March 2025. Around 739,000 women. And around 1.9 million people have experienced rape since the age of 16. Even more revealing, the Office for National Statistics says fewer than 1 in 6 victims reported their most recent assault to the police. Some people respond by saying that Indian women do not report because of the social stigma attached to it. That stigma is real and it can be a powerful barrier to reporting. But it is not uniquely Indian. Women in Western countries can also be reluctant to report sexual crimes because doing so may mean reliving a horrific experience in police interviews, court proceedings, and cross examinations. They may fear not being believed, being blamed, or having their privacy exposed. They may also hesitate because they know the perpetrator, depend on him, or simply do not want to endure the ordeal of trying to secure justice. In other words, underreporting is a serious issue in every society. Women generally can be reluctant to report such crimes because reporting them or taking the perpetrators to court can force them to revisit the trauma they have already suffered. So when somebody says India has an enormous problem with sexual offenses against women, my question is compared with what? Different countries have different definitions, different reporting cultures, and different recording systems. So you cannot simply take one country's figures, put them next to another country's figures, and declare that one society is uniquely dangerous. And this is where the misrepresentation comes in. India's overall recorded rate of crimes against women in 2023 was 66.2 per 100,000 women. That figure includes a whole range of offences, including sexual offences, assault, kidnapping, and domestic abuse. Yes, those numbers matter. Yes, India must continue tackling violence against women. But serious problems do not automatically make India uniquely dangerous. And Britain hardly has grounds for smugness. We've had Rotherham, Telford, we've had Oxford, and parts of London. We've had grooming gangs and the sexual exploitation of children on a horrifying scale. The governments own national audit found more than 100,000 police recorded offences of child sexual abuse and exploitation in 2024, including around 17,100 offences flagged as child sexual exploitation. Yet nobody says Britain is a country where children aren't safe. Why? Because we understand that criminals do not represent an entire nation. So why should India's criminals represent India? Take the horrific Delhi bus attack of 2012. Yes, it happened. Yes, it was appalling. But the perpetrators were caught, prosecuted, and 4 adult offenders were eventually executed. The case produced enormous public outrage across India and contributed to major changes in the law. That hardly suggests a society that simply doesn't care about women. In fact, compare that to Britain, where our MPs are still debating whether we should have a national inquiry on grooming gangs and the way in which the organisations and establishments have either neglected it or refused to carry out serious investigations. And here's another fact. In 2024, India welcomed almost 10 million foreign tourists' arrivals. People weren't being forced to visit India. They're choosing to go. They visit Delhi, Rajasthan, Kerala, Goa, Mumbai, Varanasi, and the Taj Mahal. Of course, they should take sensible precautions. So should tourists in London, Paris, New York. My argument isn't that India is perfect. It isn't. My argument is much simpler. Stop pretending that India's worst crimes represent India. Don't take a country of 1.4 billion people and reduce it to a handful of horrific cases. Don't take statistics without context and turn them into a caricature. And don't tell people that India is uniquely unsafe for women without putting the figures into proper context. Because criticism is legitimate. Misrepresentation isn't. India deserves scrutiny, but it also deserves something rather basic: fairness. And if we're going to judge India, let's judge it by the facts, not by the caricature. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like, and I'll see you again soon.